Hey, Trucker,
Yeah, Mayor.
do you like the movie Unforgiven?
Yeah. Mayor, do you like the movie Unforgiven?
Yeah, it's the best Western.
It's definitely in the top five for me.
Not sponsored, by
Stop.
the way,
No, but
by
man,
Best Western, the hotel chain.
never mind.
Nor is it sponsored by Western Express, the trucking company, or whatever other company uses the word Western in it.
Well, there is a trucking company just called Western.
Oh,
They've got really nice trucks, but I don't want to say too many negative things. They might get upset.
I haven't heard of the Western trucking company yet. I bet they're cool.
Oh, they've got a really cool design scheme. Their trucks are blue and their trailers are blue, and the frame rails on the trailers are also blue, and I'll have to send you a picture later.
But let's talk about it. This movie is
And
one of Clint Eastwood's finest. Gene Hackman's in it, who's always a treasure. Morgan Freeman, another
Morgan
treasure,
Freeman,
and whoever
Richard
yeah,
Harris.
Richard Harris. This
You don't know
is
who Richard Harris is?
I don't remember. I don't remember who he is,
Bummer.
but I'm sure he's great. But this movie genuinely insane. Not something that you want to watch in certain mindsets. It's kind of dark, but such a great
Kinda.
movie. Well, come on. We gotta keep it we gotta keep it somewhere in the realm of not scaring the hose.
I mean, all you really need to know to realize that this is kind of a dark film is that it starts out with
A
a
working girl.
dude a dude slashing a working girl's face because she insulted his equipment.
Yeah. His equipment was not up to standard, and she said, "Hey fella, if you're gonna come in here with inadequate equipment, I'm gonna laugh at you." And then, well, he got the final laugh.
Hmm.
Well, for for now. Starts out with after that we get to see Clint Eastwood, who is has retired from being a garbage person after his wife dies to start a crappy hog farm with his two children who are extremely inept for living human beings. I mean, I know they're like 11 and 6, but for 11 and 6-year olds, especially at that time, their chances of survival are zero.
Yeah.
And he dusts off the old 45 and does a terrible job at shooting cans at a whole 2 feet away because some guy rode up on him and said, "I heard you're a bad guy, one of the biggest, baddest around, and we've got a problem in town and need you to solve it." So then he's like, "Great, I'll go and see if I'm capable," and he's not. And then he goes to Morgan Freeman's house, who is married to a Native American woman. And for whatever reason, I mean, well, not for whatever reason, because of the time period, he's like, "Whoa, that's crazy that you're married to that lady." And he uses a slur to describe the lady, of course, because it's a Western. And
Yeah, we should have prefaced this is like late 1800s
yeah, this is
in like Wyoming and Kansas.
yeah.
So westward expansion and destiny manifested and all that was still kind of ongoing.
Nobody had a good attitude back then either. We'll just
No, not really. No,
no, and this movie really highlights that nobody had a good attitude.
I just like one of my favorite little you know bits of trivia about this movie is that Eastwood's character, former outlaw and all that, his last name is literally Money, Munny.
Yeah, and
Because back in his youth, he was a hellfire and you know shoot first, ask questions, never kind of outlaw.
yeah, and
But he settled down and had kids, and
he catches Morgan Freeman up on the roof because his wife forced him up on the roof, which is the most Native American woman thing to ever happen. Is this badass outlaw settled down with you? You're bullying him up on a roof to fix a minor leak that probably wasn't bothering anything.
yeah, Richard Harris was English Bob.
Right. Yeah, and English Bob was a goofy fella in that movie.
Mhm.
They punked English Bob pretty quick too when they get to town.
Yeah,
They punked him good. I can't remember. Do they kill English Bob or does he just get sent packing? And he's like, "I'm government corruption has got the better of me, pal. I'm on my way out of here."
I think he just leaves.
Yeah, does it? I think he tells him like, "Hey, you don't want to get involved in this. The sheriff's on their side. You're screwed."
Yeah, because as we like to say, the shit is about to hit the fan, and they basically tell the goofy English dude to get lost.
Yeah, he's got like English Bob is one of my favorite characters in the movie because he shows up. He's some rich rich dude from London who thinks he's big and tough, and he buys the best weapons that money can buy at the time, and he's no good with any of them.
No.
I think they beat the hell out of him and tell him to go home, go back to England, and he does.
Yeah, they kind of like they relentlessly make fun of him, and like he gets kicked out, and I always assumed he just kind of leaves.
Yeah, because you literally, as soon as he boards that train, you never see him again.
And then a whole bunch of, let's just say, controversial things happen
Yeah, they say a lot of
for
words that you can't say any
for
ever. You shouldn't have said them ever.
for modern times and modern audiences. A lot of no words get said,
Yeah, they break out
and
the
then
Xbox and say some gamer words over the live chat.
uh, Ned, which is Morgan Freeman's character,
Yeah,
I think his
Ned.
last name was Logan. He gets caught, and they basically do, some things,
They
and then
things
he ends
that
up dying,
yeah,
sadly.
they do things that used to happen a couple of decades previous to when this movie takes place.
Yeah, it's
He
like
succumbs to his wounds and dies in the bar, and I think they like
rope, rope, and a whipping post is involved, and
yeah,
he ends up dying of basically blood loss and trauma.
yeah,
And then Will finds out about it, and he comes in and says one of the most badass Eastwood lines in Eastwood's entire filmography, which is a big collection.
yeah. It's huge.
It's like, well, he just shot an unarmed man. Well, he should have thought about that before he put my friend's corpse on display. Oh, and then that entire gunfight, just pure cinema.
Yeah, I think the thing that irritated him the most, which again, this you know shows the power of the average average Native American woman. He was very concerned and very displeased with the idea of having to tell Ned's wife that he had been killed.
Well, I mean, not for nothing, but wasn't she wasn't she one of the tribes that did some stuff?
I think she was
I
Apache.
don't re- I don't remember.
I think she was Apache, which is
Then the answer is definitely yes.
Yeah, one of the scarier.
If Will didn't kill the people responsible, she definitely would have.
Yeah, and she was, not a young woman either. About she Will's age, and Will was not a young man in the movie because Morgan Freeman has never
No.
been a young man. He was born at the age of 37 and started acting pretty much immediately after he learned how to talk.
he's he's kind of like Keanu Reeves. Like he just doesn't age.
Yeah. But yeah, so he was pretty upset about the idea of having to tell Will's wife for obvious reasons. So he decided that the best way to deal with it so he didn't have to tell anybody was kill the entire town except for all the working girls because they didn't do anything wrong. In fact, they were just trying to leave.
Mhm.
He got because after Will got beaten up, he got beaten up real bad and he had to regroup outside of town. And then he found out that Will got killed, and then he decided to show up during a rainstorm. And for whatever reason, the town was so small they all fit in that bar, and he killed the whole town, besides the working girls.
Yeah, because like he straight up as he's leaving town after the gunfight in the bar, basically says, I will come back and kill every single swinging dick
Yeah.
without mercy. If I hear y'all are harming the working girls or, just in general being douchey. And once you hear and see that kind of gunfight, you kind of take that guy at his word.
Well, I don't think they
I
had
know
a
I would.
legitimate employment anymore because I'm pretty sure out of everybody that he killed, he did the bartender in far worse than everybody else, if I remember right.
Well, the bartender was the first guy he killed because the bartender was the one who had Ned's body on display.
Yeah, he.
You just shot an unarmed man. Well, he should have armed himself then if he was going to go around displaying my, dead friend. It's just badass quote right up there and like it's one of his most badass quotes, and that's a man whose entire career is chock full of them.
Yeah, the bartender got it the worst out of everybody. Everybody else went down pretty quick, and then obviously the sheriff got it the second worst because he tolerated it, and then Mr. Knife got his pretty good too. I think they took him out pretty early on though. I don't remember what ends up happening to that guy. I just know he doesn't get to see the credits roll. His credits rolled early.
Well, it's one of those movies where they kind of leave the ending ambiguous, where they don't really say yay or nay one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because presumably, Will, that being Clint Eastwood's character, up and leaves with his two daughters and goes further west, according to the end of it anyway. And then uh, his dead wife's mother, so his mother in law shows up and finds her grave in the abandoned farm like years after the fact. And what I remember, she's like, she couldn't understand why her daughter would have married such an individual, a notorious outlaw, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, lady, we just watched 2 hours of why she would have.
Well,
Like,
she didn't watch those 2 hours with us, so
no, no, I mean, from the audience's point of view, you're like, yeah, he might have been, an outlaw and a murderer, but damn if he wasn't a murderer and an outlaw with some standards.
yeah, he very clearly knew what he wanted.
That's a man who said, don't be don't be doing shit you ought not to be doing. And if I hear that you're still doing it, well, you'll have to deal with me. It's a great movie. Let's see how much money it made.
I hope it made like $1 billion.
Oh, ooh. No, I mean, I guess if you adjust it for inflation, maybe, but with a budget of $14.4 million, and this movie released in 1992, for anyone curious, its total box office is 159.2 million, so massive success.
You want to know what really made this movie a success, though?
Clint Eastwood's general existence as an unqualified badass.
Nah, something way better. This movie
The fact that
had
they they made it in Canada.
hundreds, and I do mean hundreds, of guns and tens of thousands of rounds of fake ammunition, and not one cameraman got murked.
Oh, well, it's almost like the people working on this movie knew the first thing about gun safety, or at least they knew the first rule.
Yeah,
You know,
and then after they finished
don't point
uh,
don't point it at anything you're not willing to absolutely destroy.
after they completed the first rule, they moved on to the second rule, which is don't point it at anything you're not willing to destroy.
For all those curious, the first rule of gun safety is keep your booger hook off the bang switch until you're ready to shoot. Second rule, don't point it at anybody or anything you're not willing to destroy. Third rule, know your target and what's beyond it. Four, have fun. That being a callback to the D&D sessions.
I do like that that's managed to become the most hotly debated topic in all the world of Ocelia is what how to properly handle firearms.
And we kind of fucked that up too. The first rule is always treat every gun as
Gun
if
like
it's
it's
loaded.
loaded, yeah. Which, right? I we
I
make
personally I personally think that should always be rule number 1, but in my personal experience and history, rule 1 is always keep your finger off the trigger, because in my brain that's connected to treat it as if it's loaded.
here's a good
So,
here's a good fifth rule that never gets mentioned from personal experience. Remember that the barrel of the weapon is hot and you shouldn't touch it during reloading.
never shoot ammunition whose origin is questionable at best. That should be a rule because of Kentucky ballistics.
Poor man.
That that dude tempts fate more than I would on any good day, but the fact that he's had just that happen to him, and for all the people curious, he had a gun literally explode in his face,
Not just
and it nearly killed him.
not just a gun, the gun.
Like, he had, I won't name the brand because the guy is, he's not like horrible about it, but it's not really the gun's fault.
No, it was a freak
But
accident.
he was shooting a 50 BMG slap round, which is a saboed light armor penetrating bullet. And whoever put that thing together back when that bullet was made 30 years ago, man, it was hot, meaning it had way too much powder. And it literally caused the gun to explode, and bits and pieces of the gun went into places they're not supposed to go.
This is massively off topic at this point, but the whole
Well, I
point.
mean, considering we're talking about a western where an ass ton of people get shot, You could
let's
argue that it's on topic.
let's just say if you get nothing else from this movie, that it is an actual excellent display of the four rules of gun safety.
And not only that, it is routinely called up for being one of the best westerns ever made
I would have to say
because of
that
its
if you
because of its accuracy, like its historical, not so much like, historical events happen in this movie, but they wear the shit that people would have been wearing, they use the guns people would have been using. They, talk, dress, act, and behave very time period appropriate.
much to
It
a
is
lot of
easy.
misfortune.
It is easily one of the best movies ever put out there.
Yeah.
And to the fact that Eastwood dedicated the whole fucking thing because it was, his movie anyway. But he dedicated it to two of the Mac daddies of, you know, mid 20th century Western, Sergio Leone and Don Siegel. The spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
What with you being what with you being an Italian and all.
Just because
I just
racism
love
happens in the movie doesn't mean we have to do it now.
everybody. We joke with each other. It's okay.
And I know I'm
Nothing is said out of malice.
and I'm not speaking out of turn about Native American women. I know a
He's
lot of
involved.
I'm involved, and it's all true. Yeah, if Clint Eastwood's character wouldn't have taken care of it, the town would have been taken care of. That's all I'll say.
Speaking of which, I've got another movie we can add to the list now. You may or may not have seen it.
I probably haven't. You've been doing a good job of picking things I've not seen.
Well, it kind of fits in this vein. It's Jeremiah Johnson.
No,
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 damn, I'm on a roll. Half the stuff I've added to our list you haven't seen,
yeah, it's
which is fair, I guess. But
that's a we highly
yeah, it's got
recommend that
Robert Redford in it.
we would highly recommend that you watch Unforgiven the minute that you can. It's a long movie though. You
It
gotta
is.
have some time.
It's easily one of those where you got to dedicate some time to it,
Worth it, but
and
you
it
have to
is a
dedicate time to it.
it's a bit of a watch. Dang.
I think that just about covers it though.
Yeah, it's about.
With that, we like to recommend a band and or song to listen to at the end of these things. I believe I can't remember who went first last time.
You did.
All right, well then you get after it.
We're gonna bring up the music player. Hit shuffle. Oh, how appropriate is that? Song of the South by Alabama.
I'll keep it I'll keep it in the same wheelhouse here. Let me just make sure I get the title right. I don't want to butcher it because I really actually like the song a lot. Of course, when I'm looking for it, you can't ever find what you're looking for. Funny how that happens. There we go. 2 Dozen Roses by Shenandoah.
That's a good one.
It's a great one.
Solid pick.
Fantastic pick. Just like this movie. All right, well, that's another episode down. I hope you all have a good one.
Goodbye, everybody.